some tweaks and some changes to this as it goes through different committees as it has been. But essentially, this statute is going to be state law at some point. And like I say, the legislative session ends in May. This also regulates marijuana light.
Why did you put the air quotes into that?
Because that's what I'm terming. Rather than say THC below 3% and 5 milligrams, I'm calling it marijuana light. This statute will also regulate what we have here proposed for you tonight. When this passes, this is going to preempt this. So what you do tonight will largely have little to no effect because this is going to take this's place. If you guys want to pass this, you certainly can. But to be quite frank, this is likely going to be law between now and May 22nd. Now, when this passes, they're going to give this an effective date. What that effective date will be, who knows? It could be the fall of this year. It could be next year. I don't have an answer to that yet. But I can tell you with great certainty that 342 is going to be law very soon. So you have some thinking to do whether you want to pass this or take a wait-and-see approach on this. And that was one of the options that I gave you in my memo.
Which basically means keep the moratorium in place until May, or until...
Right. And that's exactly what Waseca did
Yeah, I see.
just a few weeks ago.
We're still allowed to change it. If we wait for this, we're still going to be allowed to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What you won't be able to do is once this passes law, you won't be able to not follow it.
Okay. Staying back on topic, the THC ordinance presented in front of us today is actually from hemp-derived THC, not marijuana-derived THC, which is what that is. Right now, we have hemp-derived THC on the table, so let's please stay on that. The one thing I would like to ask is, where was all this concern in our city in 2018? I've not heard it in my first term, not once. No one was worried. Now we're worried, though, right?
I'm not worried.
No, but it's funny, though, we're putting this moratorium in place for what again? What was that reason?
The purpose of the moratorium was so that we don't pass something like this to have problems with something like this.
I don't recall that being the reason why. I actually recall you saying that it was to be safe and we didn't know enough about the product, a lot of things like that. Where was this same worry in 2018? When THC was first legalized in Minnesota, where was your fear then?
I didn't have a fear then, and I don't have a fear now.
Why are you introducing that moratorium and then coming here on council time and time again and saying how the thing to live what you implemented or asked us to implement is redundant?
Melissa, if I may?
Yes.
I would like to speak in favor of the moratorium. I have been on this council for less than 2 months, and since I've gotten here, I've been told how great of town we've got, how good of school system we got, how we're building young families. I've been assigned the task of trying to get a community center and library going for young families. I don't see where THC, marijuana, or any other name you want to put on it fits in this community.
That's a personal opinion, but that's not what we're here to do. Recognize that the state of Minnesota has already superseded that by saying that it is a right in the state of Minnesota to consume THC products.
I don't have a problem with that.
But placing
Our citizens all work in Mankato and Waseca. They can bring it home with them.
To be able to finish my sentence,
Go ahead.
your response, you are restricting people's right to a product and to disperse that product because of a personal belief you are holding. That is not fair. That is not fair to any of the great things you just said. But sticking with the writing in front of us, I want to know why we are only focusing on the bill that was enacted in 2022 when this has been legal since 2018 and why that language isn't in here. And it's not like no one here does not know about this because I emailed it out to everybody. So everybody is hyper aware of the farm bill that legalized THC years and years ago. You didn't know about it. The minute you found out about THC because of a hiccup that accidentally legalized Delta-9, and that's why all the panic has started. I don't think that WASICA is a great model to follow through, considering that single-handedly is costing business owners revenue. That's revenue you are halting in your town. Furthermore, this writing is a gross misreach of power. It sets up the biggest gray area to box in your potential business owners. The fact that no one here is even talking about it is disturbing. So I'd like to point out some of these things. The first is that it says the city has the opportunity to make decisions that mitigate and reduce the exposure of young people to products or the marketing of these products to improve the compliance, goes on and on. That's already illegal. That's already illegal. That is redundant language. It has been illegal to market to underage consumers for alcohol and tobacco and THC products. That was handled with the law that was passed in 2018. That language is done. But we're sticking it in here. I'd like to see that removed. A local regulatory system for THC product retailers is appropriate to ensure retailers comply with THC product laws and business standards of Janesville City and protect the public health, safety, and welfare. Again, added language, I can live with it, but where it gets a little dark for me is when you go down to a requirement for a THC product retailer license will not unduly burden legitimate business activities of retailers who lawfully sell or distribute THC products to adults, but will allow the City of Janesville to regulate the operation of lawful businesses to discourage violations of state and local THC product-related laws. What you are doing with this is you are saying that if there's nuisance complaints made by other businesses, that the city can pull those nuisance complaints and deny you an application. They can deny you renewing your license. You are setting up gray area here for overreach. That's just one example. The next, in item H, making these findings and enacting this ordinance is the intent of Janesville City Council to ensure responsible THC product retailing, allowing legal sale and access without prompting increases in use and to discourage violations of THC. Do we need this language in here? We don't have this in any of the other ones. I did look, and I can show you if you'd like. This language is not in any of the alcohol or tobacco ones. So it's another thing where it just seems a little fearful. But then if you go on to the state law adopted in license, you have limitations on licenses, which at the last meeting we all agreed we could do away with the cap, yet it made its way back. The reason that made its way back?
Yeah, the reason it made its way back, do I have permission to speak?
Yes, you do.
We tabled this last meeting.
And this is the same paperwork.
So what I
we had
did
last
is I
week.
put the exact same paperwork into tonight's packet.
It doesn't matter because the agreement was had at that meeting. It is in the record that we said, why is there a cap? We talked about the need that there was not one, and we asked to remove it. It made its way back. Why? I mean, it
Fine,
doesn't...
cross it out, that's fine. I
Well,
put
well-
everything back from our last council meeting into tonight's packet.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we're gonna have a public hearing on it. If you guys have language that you want stricken, send it.
So we can't talk about it tonight?
That's the fourth time you've interrupted me.
I guess I have some time to make up then, for the last meeting.
Well, you gave a nice speech earlier. 90% of it was wrong. But
That's
one of
not why
the-
we're here, but Mayor,
there's
if
a
you wanna let him
fifth
continue
time.
on that, that's up to you. This
I
is
thought I
your
had the
meeting,
floor. I
if you
thought I
are
had-
running it.
You do, Jason.
Thank you. We'll have a public hearing on this ordinance. If you guys want to pass it, we can pass it at the next meeting. If you guys have language that you want to propose, get that to Clinton and I.
I'm bringing it to you right now. Is that not permissible to do it now?
And we're crossing out no more than 6, and as we talked
Perfect.
about 2 weeks ago, that's
Okay,
fine.
great. I'd like to continue.
But we have to keep in mind that it's council,
You do not run this meeting.
it's the 8th time, and you don't run it either, Melissa. The mayor runs the meeting, and I have the floor.
Please continue.
Mr. Mayor, if I may
Please
continue,
continue.
without interruption, hopefully. We're gonna have a public hearing in March. If you guys have changes, corrections, additions to make, get that to Clinton and I, and we can discuss those. It's as simple as that.
Can I finish my questions, or are you refusing to answer them?
I've not refused to answer
Okay,
any,
perfect. I'd like to continue. Thank you. All right. So, under the adopted license section, under section D, application. An application for license to sell products in this chapter shall be made on the forms provided by the city. The application shall contain the full name of the applicant, their business, blah, blah, blah. Then it says, another gray area. The name of the business for which the license is sought and any additional information the city deems necessary. I would like this gray area stricken. This is setting up for another overreach. The other thing, and I would really love for an explanation on this. A business applicant, at the time of application, shall furnish the city with a list of all persons that have had interest in the business, the list of names of all owners, and show the interest held by each, either individually or beneficially for others. Is there a reason for that?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Ms. Kopacik, it's evident that you have not read 342.
We're not talking about 342.
Well, we will be when this is law, May
We are
27th.
not talking about 342. I'm talking about the language you have in front of me.
That language comes right out of 342.
So explain it.
I just did.
You
That
did.
that's the 11th time. That language that you just read is in 342. This will be state law.
Okay, can someone else explain
You
to
haven't,
me
you haven't read the statute?
why this is? I am not going to read a statute that we're not voting on. It is not what we're voting on today, Mr. Moran.
We're not voting on anything today.
So I'm asking a question, and you are not answering me. Pointing to a bill that's not on the table is not an answer. I want to know why the city of Janesville is asking for a list of names of all owners and their interests held and what benefits it is for them. No,
Comes right out of 342.
so you will not answer why that language would be.
I just did. It comes right out of 342.
You don't have an explanation.
I just did. That language comes out of 342.
He used 342 as a guide.
No kidding. I fully understand that. He's pointing at a thing that does not pertain to this. I'm asking for a reason. I'm not asking for 342.
If you take that language out, you will follow 342.
What is the purpose of the city asking for the intent of all and the list of names of everybody? What is the purpose of that?
Calm down.
Don't ever
Calm down.
tell me to do that again. Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, we need to speak to each other with respect, please.
You've cut me off 12 times. I've given you the best answer that I can, Melissa. That language comes from the state law 342. When this passes, what do you mean?
it is evident that, like, you just blatantly do not want to answer my
Okay,
question.
I tell you what, take that language out. If you don't want to
I
follow...
would like to, yes.
Okay, and when it becomes law, we will have to follow it.
We're not talking about that tonight.
Can you specifically show what
Yes,
part of the paragraph?
yes, on page 4,
Yep.
the second paragraph is demanding that all applicants provide a list of names and their reasons, or it literally says they shall list all names of owners and show their interest held by each. either individually or beneficially for others. What is the reason
Yeah.
for that type of language? It feels extremely invasive.
And that's part of the background check process.
Well-
Correct.
That is, I looked in the alcohol and tobacco ordinances, and this language is not in there. And I kept those at my side because it was said over and over that we modeled this after our alcohol and alcohol. It's not in there. So I'm asking why this is in here. It's not for me to be to slight you or anything. I'm asking a genuine question.
Okay.
Because it's disturbing language.
That language, again, comes out of 342. I think the purpose behind it is to keep people from setting up a shell corporation, where you have a corporation that comes in and sets up a business, and they don't disclose who the people that are actually running that business are. And so that is a reason why you would want to know who is actually behind the business. For instance, if you have a person that would not qualify for a license, they set up a corporation, they're a silent partner, they set up a shell corporation inside of a corporation. 342 would get around that.
If you say 342, my head's going to explode.
Well, I don't care.
It's gonna explode?
You know, Melissa, I don't care if your head explodes or not,
Anyway,
but
I would really like this language stricken. I really don't think it's necessary. It's really invasive, and our legal attorney can't even provide us a valid reason to keep it in here.
I just did. To prohibit the setting up of a shell
Mr.
corporation.
Mayor, I would like to be able to say these statements without an argument and suing every time. I am on this board too.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. I've already stated my opinion of this ordinance. I don't feel we're moving forward with the argument we have going place. I didn't feel that way last week. If we can't be civil about the changes we want to make here, I'm going to make a motion that we table this, any action for another 6 months.
Are you kidding?
No.
Motion on the floor.
You do not run the meeting. You don't.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I cannot believe this council. This is disgusting behavior from all of you.
It's completely out of line.
Get over yourself, Jason.
That's enough.
There's a motion on the table.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion of...
Can I ask a quick question?
You may.
You said 6 months, Ivan.
The purpose is, I said 6 months, the purpose is to get out past where our moratorium was.
And that, I'm glad you answered it that way, thank you. Can we go past our 12-month moratorium?
You'd have to renew the moratorium.
Thank you. I just need
But to be quite
clarification.
frank, we're gonna have an answer.
I had a bunch more questions. Guess no one's interested in that.
We
have
currently
about
have a motion on the
5
floor.
pages worth of document. There's 5 pages that your council's refusing to actually go over with you tonight. 5 pages. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, all of you.
We have a motion and a second. I have a question before I go any farther. Do we know exactly what the date is of our 12-month?
No.
Oh, it's in our minutes, something.
Yeah, that's the question.
What do we do if this motion were to pass and we get a...
I wanna say it's at the end of July, first part of August. We would address it May, June.
Okay.
But we're gonna have an answer from the legislature.
Before that.
Between now and the end of May.
Which is
That doesn't-
ultimately going to set the
Moratorium,
precedent.
because, no, he's leaving out the part with this moratorium, even if this passes, it still does not allow businesses to set up here. You don't even realize what you're saying, and you're voting on it. This is, the whole city's watching, live, and in color, right now.
You're right about that. But anyway, there's a motion on the floor to
There's a
table.
motion
Mr. Mayor.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Opposed? Motion carries
To
3-1.
to answer the question, the moratorium was adopted on July 25th, 2022.
So this is all gonna work itself out before that,
It should.
in likelihood.
Any other questions for me tonight?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
New business number 1 is to approve the improvements to Teal Street.
Accident.
Okay, we have been talking about this for a few council meetings here now. Just talked about the open house that the county is going to host here in this room on March 23rd. In your packet, there are 4 sheets that engineer Jason Fenwright and also the county engineer put together plans for the Teal Street resurfacing. The attached resolution approves these plans written by Mr. Fenwright and Mr. Kohler, sorry. Don't tell him I said Mr. Miller, he's a Kohler. Okay, thank you. Yeah, but not very secretive. Shouldn't be bad. So yes, I'm suggesting, I recommend that you adopt resolution 2023-5.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. New business number 2 is our cooperative construction agreement with the county.
Now that you just passed the plans.
Now we gotta pay for it.
Yeah, you gotta pay for it. So this construction agreement is with the county, and the county will cover 78% of the cost, and the city is for 22%. Very similar to the cooperation agreement we signed for the trail going out to Lake Two Park last fall.
And that's engineer's estimate, the 38.
Yes, sir, and bids have not been opened yet.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's just what they're looking at.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I would make a motion to approve the cooperative construction agreement.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have one question for Dee, actually. Is there any new updates on that grant for the path out there, or not yet?
I would mention,
Yeah.
with your indulgence,
Yes.
the Committee 11 did not, we had a final hearing today, and we continued it. There were some additional acres that are in Stewart County that were not considered in the determination. And so, on advice of our ditch attorney, we continue the process. We're going to go back and consider those acres. We're going to have to give them a cooperative agreement and get the SOAR involved in the conversation as well as the rest. It's only about the same, it's only about 1,200 acres, which is about what Blue Earth has in it. And that redetermination of benefits, just to be very clear, and Ivan probably understands this more than some, only because he's a farmer. The redetermination of benefits, that $11,900 and some dollars, which was an estimate, is based on we think we might have to do $125,000 worth of repairs on the ditch in an average year. What redetermination of benefits only, the whole process is meant to clarify what every entity's responsibility and benefit is toward the ditch. It's a percentage. It's not a dollar amount.
Yep.
That dollar amount is based on, let's say it's $125,000. If it's $260,000,
Then that's,
and it will change from year to year depending on what work has to be done. And of course, if we have a big event like the big flood we had, you know, that, and then he was involved in all those kind of things. So I just want to clarify that the redetermination doesn't give you a dollar amount, it gives you a percent of responsibility. And what you got so far is gonna get looked at all over again, because we're gonna have the 1,200 acres from the sewer, and spread it out over those acres as well.
Okay.
So there'll be, we'll go back, we'll have another public hearing about it, and if there's any questions, please feel free to contact me or Chris Howard. He's a pro at this, and he's done a great job of steering this very, very large watershed. There's over 500 people in our county that have property in this, so it's a huge watershed. So, okay.
Thank you. That was nice to see you here. Last on our list of new business is a temporary liquor license for St. Anne's Parish.
Yes, St. Anne's Parish is having a fundraiser on March 31st, and they are requesting a temporary liquor license for that weekend, for that event.
Clinton, can you, tell me the name of the person on the application? I can't make it out.
Ben Burns.
Okay. I thought that might have been it, but I found somebody that writes worse than me. Fine.
I would make a motion to approve. I would make a motion to approve the temporary liquor license for St. Anne's.
Second.
All in favor?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.